Hey everyone, this is your stimulus package update, stimulus check update, and second stimulus check update for Thursday, August 27th. This video is for those of you on SSI, SSDI, Social Security, or VA benefits, or anyone that's wondering about the second stimulus check. In this video, I want to talk about the second stimulus check and all of the negotiations that are going on with regards to the next stimulus bill. The second stimulus check is going to be part of the next stimulus bill, so we need to see where the negotiations are going and how they're going so that we can know about when the second stimulus check is going to happen and if it's going to happen. It does appear like the second stimulus check is not going to be part of its own stimulus deal, so we do need to focus on the negotiations on the overall stimulus plans. All of this that I'm going to talk about today is in context of getting the $1,200 stimulus checks. So as the negotiations go better and get closer to a deal, then the stimulus check should be closer to a deal as well. I know many of you are hurting and are needing assistance for food, housing, clothes, and just the basic necessities of life. And I know you're super frustrated, as I am, that Congress is dragging their feet and taking forever to get this next stimulus check out there. I do hope that the House and the Senate can reach a deal soon so that each one of you can get your $1,200 stimulus check. Welcome back to those of you that subscribe my channel. I do appreciate each and every one of you. If you haven't subscribed already, my name is Justin and I do stimulus check updates and give financial advice. So be sure to hit that subscribe button and hit the notification bell so that you'll be notified each and every time I upload a new video. And if you find this content helpful, I would appreciate it if you hit the like button so that YouTube will share it with others. That really does help me out and I would appreciate it. Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the House, called the House of Representatives back into session last week to vote on and discuss and actually pass a very important stimulus bill, or at least she thought it was important, that would give $25 billion of funding for the United States Postal Service. However, that deal did not include a second stimulus check for individuals, or really anything else other than post office funding and assistance. On the other side of the aisle, there is word that there's going to be another deal that is brokered by the GOP that is similar to the skinny deal that was released last week. This deal, unfortunately, also does not include a second stimulus check. So those two of the most recent stimulus deals don't include stimulus checks, and people are starting to worry that the next stimulus deal will not have a stimulus check. That bill that is being discussed this week is slightly different than the skinny bill, but it included about a $500 overall bill, and it included $400 per week in unemployment benefits, more funding for small businesses as part of the PPP program, funding for schools, COVID-19 testing and vaccine funding, but like I said, noticeably absent from that bill was a second stimulus check. So both sides' most recent bills do not have a stimulus check in them. However, I do think these bills are just negotiation tactics between both sides. The House of Representatives wants a total bill that's at least $2 trillion. The Senate, on the other hand, wants a bill that is no more than $1 trillion. So each of them have kind of just said, okay, well, I really want this part of the bill and I really want this part of the bill, and both sides are still not really agreeing on a lot of things. Basically, the GOP is saying, oh, we aren't going to even do a $1 trillion bill now, we're only going to do a $500 billion bill. While the House of Representatives says, you better pass this post office funding or else. And both sides are basically just kind of calling each other out like they have been doing for weeks now, and it is super frustrating. Let me know in the comments below if you think that the second stimulus check should be its own bill and just passed. Both sides already agreed to a $1,200 stimulus check and think that that should go out to individuals. And I think it should as well. Do you think that that should be part of its own bill? Let me know in the comment section below. White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows went into Nancy Pelosi's office last Saturday to meet with her. However, he did not have a scheduled appointment and just kind of popped in to see if she had some time to meet. Not surprisingly, Nancy Pelosi was already meeting with other people and did not have time to meet, and they were not able to meet on Saturday. However, Mark Meadows has also said that his staff has sent messages over to Nancy Pelosi's office about meeting again and about resuming negotiations. However, Nancy Pelosi's office said while they did receive a message from Mark Meadows' office, the message did not have anything with regards to resuming negotiations. So these two sides can't even agree on what was the content of a simple message between the two sides. So right now there is a major impasse and they are not agreeing on basically anything at this point. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell said regarding the negotiations, "It's a national crisis and it would serve the nation better if the Democratic leaders would act like it's a crisis." Well, as you know, Mitch McConnell and the Senate waited for months after the HEROES Act was passed before they passed their own proposal. So both sides really are dragging their feet at this point. The House of Representatives is dragging their feet lately, and the Senate was dragging their feet for months after the HEROES Act was passed. And at this point, like Mitch McConnell was calling out the Democrats for needing to act like this is a crisis, I think both sides need to act like this is a crisis because it is a crisis for millions of Americans. And I think both sides need to realize that the stimulus checks are critical for a lot of people to just stay in their homes and to even just pay for food and housing and other necessities that they need. So everyone is wondering when the next stimulus check is going to go out, and this is what we know so far. The $1,200 stimulus checks would go out to those on SSI, SSDI, Social Security, and VA benefits, as well as basically anyone that received the first stimulus check. In addition to this, there would be a $500 to $1,200 stimulus check that would go out to those claimed as dependents on someone else's taxes. So those are kind of the details of who would receive the next stimulus check. As far as when the next stimulus check may be coming, this is when it gets a lot more hazy. We are still waiting, like I've been saying, for the negotiations on the next stimulus bill. These are the things that are holding up the next stimulus bill. First of all, the total dollar amount of this next stimulus bill is one of the biggest sticking points. The Democrats from the House of Representatives have called for a bill of at least $2 trillion, while the Republicans in the Senate have said, we don't want a bill that's more than $1 trillion. So that $2 trillion and $1 trillion mark are basically one of the biggest issues that is keeping this bill from being passed and keeping the next stimulus check from becoming a reality. In addition to this, school funding, while both sides agree on school funding, the GOP wants school funding tied to reopening of schools or the funding to go directly to parents if the schools are not reopening in their area, while the House of Representatives does not want any sort of funding tied to schools reopening. In addition to this, one of the other biggest sticking points is the fact that the House of Representatives has called for $1 trillion in funding for state and local governments. The Senate has also wanted to send some funding to state and local governments, but they don't want a price tag of $1 trillion. They want their overall bill to be $1 trillion, so they definitely do not want $1 trillion just for state and local governments. They also want to include funding for PPP loans for small businesses, funding for schools, and stimulus checks, most likely, that they all want funding for. And that is going to be part of their entire package that they want to be $1 trillion. So we continue to be at a stalemate. The one thing that is good news right now is that if they do reach a deal, they've said that the stimulus checks can go out within a week of a stimulus package being passed. So if they can finally agree on some of this stuff, and they can actually pass the stimulus package, the stimulus checks could go out as soon as a week later. So if the stimulus package happens and is passed, let's say the first day they're back from recess, which the Senate will be back from recess September 8th, then the House of Representatives could pass it or could vote on and pass it the next day, September 9th, and President Trump could theoretically pass it and sign it September 10th. That would give the next stimulus check a timeline of September 17th, kind of that week of September 17th, for it to start going out by direct deposit. So that right now is kind of the timeline of what we're looking at, and this, in my opinion, is probably best case scenario. If they can actually get a deal as soon as they get back in session, then the week of September 17th is when we would see the second stimulus check. Mitch McConnell, who's kind of been, he's been a lot more, approving of a second stimulus check lately, but initially he was kind of the one back in May that said, no, we don't want extra stimulus checks. But he's kind of come around, and he actually had a quote that was basically saying that he's hopeful that they can come to a deal. And Mitch McConnell said, "As you have noticed, we're at a stalemate with the Democratic majority in the House and the Democratic minority in the Senate, and have not been able to reach an agreement yet, but I haven't given up hope. The American people need additional assistance now. That can only be done on a bipartisan basis, and I hope we'll be there soon. I also hope that there will be a deal soon, and I do think that second stimulus checks will be part of this deal. Even though the skinny bill that's come out lately and the post office bill from the House has come out lately without stimulus checks, I think both sides have already said multiple times that they want stimulus checks in this next stimulus deal. So I have to believe that it will be part of this next stimulus deal. Like I said before though, my best guess is it's not going to happen until September and probably won't happen until they're back from recess. So look for possibly the week of the 17th of September for the earliest the second stimulus check could go out. I will keep you up to date and let you know if that changes or if that's going to be pushed back even further. We've been pushing back the date and pushing back the date, it seems like, for weeks now. So unfortunately, that's where we're at with the second stimulus check. And for those of you on SSI, SSDI, Social Security, and VA benefits, I will keep you up to date and I will keep telling you everything that I find out and everything that's pertinent in regards to the second stimulus check. I do appreciate each and every one of you that watches my videos. I wouldn't be doing this if you weren't watching them, I promise. I'm not going to be doing this if people aren't watching, so thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it, and I do hope that you have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you again soon.